Hi, and welcome to another episode of Soul Guided with Sookton. I am your host, Suki Eleuterio, and this is the podcast where we discuss all of the things that are near and dear to the enlightenment of your soul. I'm very excited today to have another special guest here with me. I'm here with Dr. Nikki Starr. She is a multidimensional activator and former medical doctor. She's also sitting there in the beautiful parts of Spain that I've always wanted to visit. So, like, if you watch this on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see where she's at. So, welcome, Dr. Nikki.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for having me.
Awesome. I would love if you could tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are right now, because multidimensional activator is a lot just in that. But then you have the second
Absolutely.
part, which is the former medical part of you. So could you share basically, yeah, how you got to what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So I feel that I was born as this multidimensional activator, but being born and bred in New York City, I wasn't really connected to that part until my spiritual awakening happened. And that happened during medical school. I went to NYU for medical school and undergrad as well. And so after going through medical training and while I was in medical school, I started doing yoga, meditating, traveling, and all of these things started to awaken my consciousness and my enlightenment started to happen, whether I liked it or not. And of course, it was the most beautiful blessing. And with that, I left behind Western medicine because I realized that the mind and body that we learn about in medical school is just two dimensions of the human. Whereas my awakening expanded my capacity to work with someone on the energetic plane, on the astral plane, past life dimensions, other dimensions, multiple realities that exist in parallel universes. And so I realized that really to support people in their ultimate potential in love, life, business, it really was a multidimensional approach of the person and also different types of modalities.
So this is beautiful because yesterday I was doing an oracle card reading, a collective one, and one of the cards that had popped up was Awaken. And it's interesting how we can be going through life, and we just think like this is it, this is all I'm seeing right here, my two-dimensional job, the things that I have to do to pay the bills, my kids, and all of a sudden there's this awakening, right? And you start to see things differently and in this multidimensional way. So I'd love if you could share, like, what were some of the tools that got you into this awakening? What are some of the things that you discovered along the way where you were like, oh my gosh, I have been, I have been asleep.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my top three awakeners were travel, meditation, and yoga. So at that time, I am a 200-hour certified Ashtanga yoga teacher. I no longer only practice that, of course, because my modalities have expanded. But what we see with yoga is it is a technology that when you align your energy centers in a certain way, it's like right? It's like the whole system unlocks itself and opens. And this is where we awaken our cities, which are our spiritual gifts. So, yoga is a technology, a practice that has withstood the test of time. It's been around for thousands of years. And this is one thing that helps to awaken humans. Meditation helps to awaken our capacity to see reality through different lenses and perspective. And this is where we come and it's like we create space for our guides, our highest self, our spirit to incarnate more fully into our body, for us to receive wisdom, insights, downloads. So you can suddenly, boom, have a memory of a past life in a meditation. You can have a memory, like I started having memories of my life on other planets. So meditation was a really powerful tool, and I started to strengthen my intuition and I started to strengthen my flow with the universe. It's where you can awaken more of your supernatural gifts and just your knowing, your clairsentience, your clairaudience, your clairvoyance. Here's where our divine support team, the unseen realm, can communicate with us. It's our time to listen. And then lastly, with travel, for me, I feel travel is such a huge awakener for people because by moving to different points on the planet, you're connecting to different energy lines and grids of where you've lived in past lives. So I feel what was happening to me during my travels is I was awakening the parts of myself from other time, space, dimensions, and civilizations where I lived as the healer, the sex priestess, the queen, etc. And all of those lives, I went to sacred sites and I even had physical somatic experiences when I went. And so when that's why we're drawn to different places on the planet, I believe it's because of our past lives and we've lived there before. So I've definitely lived in Ibiza where I am now, which is an Atlantean past life. And I feel like it's very much connected to this time space dimension that we're living now because of all the AI and all of the technology. And I'm very much not in favor of that because of what happened in Atlantis and the fall of civilization basically happened because technology was advancing at a much faster rate than our spiritual enlightenment was. So I feel like this life is very much connected to my Atlantis past life. So I live here in Ibiza and feel very activated here.
There's so much, there's literally so much that you've said that I now want to that I now want to dig into because this is really powerful. The first thing is the travel, and I truly believe that earlier this year I was drawn to go to Bali. It was not on my radar at all. It wasn't on my bucket list. I have a list of places I want to travel to that are up on my board right now. It was not one of them. But when it happened, it seemed to happen so quickly and so effortlessly. And all the signs were pointing like, this is the place that you've got to go right now in this particular time. And I'm getting like even tears right now because when I got there, I just felt my heart chakra open right up. And they call it the heart chakra of the world, Bali is. And it's just, travel sometimes we have to be open to if a land is calling you there, right? Go and explore and don't try and plan everything because I had tried to plan everything and then I just threw all my plans out the window when I got there and I just immersed myself in wherever I needed to be. But, I would love if you could
Absolutely.
speak about that travel a little bit deeper because I definitely think that soul connection. And then also, I think the learning lessons that a place teaches you. And each place, I believe that, you have maybe a contract where there's something that you need to go and do, or there's some lesson, a spiritual lesson that you need to learn within that.
Absolutely. So if we lived on a land in a past life, we have karma with that land. And sometimes we want to, and a big part of our spiritual awakening and evolution of our soul in this life is to resolve the past karmas. So when you go to a land and do certain things, for example, I did do healing of different lands when I was traveling as I started to awaken my healing gifts. And what I did, my travel started in college. And the moment I went to foreign lands, even though I had been to the islands and I went on cruises to the Caribbean as a kid, it was something when I went to like the other side of the ocean. I went to Italy for the first time, which is an I'm part Italian. And so that was like native land. And so that started to awaken things inside of me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go and see the whole world. It's like all of a sudden it activated this, I have to go everywhere. And literally for about a decade, I traveled so much. By age 25, I touched every continent except Antarctica. And at first, it was like travel like a tourist. Then it turned into sacred sites. And then it was synchronicities. And what I was doing was I was connecting like a network to people karmically that I was meant to meet in this life. The ley lines, the energy lines of the planet were activating me as well. And then I started to notice how about astrocartography. So basically, it's how the stars were aligned when your spirit incarnated into your body. And so certain places on the planet connect to certain aspects of your moon and or your Uranus or Venus, etc. And so I didn't learn until I moved here that Ibiza is my moon. And what's interesting is here is where I have felt I've softened into my feminine the most. And here's where I do want to have a family and become a mother. And all this is moon energy, right? So it's really fascinating how it works. And I feel that it really helped me to let go of plans and trust more in the flow of the universe, synchronicity, and learning to read synchronic signs. So I took a one-way ticket to Ibiza also when I left Western medicine, but I didn't know I was going to leave it. So clearly Ibiza has this karmic place in terms of giving an example. Like when I left Western medicine, I took a one-way ticket here and I changed my whole life. And then again, when after I had been settled in Malibu and loving living in Malibu and thinking that's where I was going to be my whole life, similarly, it wasn't on my radar, but I had met someone out in LA and they were like, yeah, we live in Ibiza all the time. And I was like, what? And so I came and I had this whole other experience because I was now ready in this new frequency to have a different experience of the island, which was more spiritual in nature. But for example, when I went to Uxmal, which is the temple of the magician in the Yucatan Peninsula, so it's almost like the pyramids, but in Mexico, I had a remembrance of my sex priestess life there. And I literally had a vaginal discharge while I was in the square of the nuns. And if you're watching the video, I have air quotations, but it wasn't square of the nuns, it was the square of the sex priestesses, but they couldn't call it that because, church and everything that's been suppressed with history. So my advice is always to go where you're guided because lands themselves can be healing and awakening. Of course, people can help to awaken us. Like that's also part of why I call myself an activator, because in my work, clients awaken their spiritual gifts, their intuitive capacities. But even if they were never clairvoyant or audient before, that awakens. And that's like what a spiritual teacher and guide helps to do is like awaken these parts. And also, we are incarnated with all the past lives that we need for our mission in this life. And the lands of those lives are equally important. So go and travel. I always recommend it. It's also just helps us to have a zoomed out bird's eye view of life so we can make decisions, not so much from with blinders and our unicentric life. Like I used to think New York City was the center of the world where I was born and educated. And then I got to see the world and it was like, wow.
So I love the astro cartography. I've gotten into it a little bit myself, and it's so fascinating where you can actually see like parts of the world that activate you in different types of ways. So if you're listening and you don't know about astrocartography, like I definitely recommend looking it up and looking at like where you live now versus maybe some other places where you felt drawn to in your life, but you never ended up going yet. And maybe you should like jump on that plane or get on that boat ride or ship or just go. So I love that. What's interesting is when you were talking spiritually, just like kind of like tuning into your energy, like I said earlier, when we had our little breath moment together before we started, is that like you have that travel part of your like DNA where it's not just travel within the world, it's travel within the realms. Do you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
it's deeper travel than that. So it makes perfect sense that you do that and then probably help your clients as well to travel outside of like the physical body and stuff like that. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask, because I think this is really big, because taking such a leap from going into being a medical doctor to basically like completely closing that chapter of your life and going deeper into your spiritual gifts. I think this is something that my audience really resonates with, which is like you have these spiritual gifts and you know them. And most of us know them since we're little kids. Like we understand there's something that we have that maybe other people don't have. And for a long time, maybe we think of it as a curse, or we close it and throw it, like put it away in the closet and pretend not to have it. So I would love if you could speak about owning your spiritual gifts and the journey that it took for you to say, And there must have been judgment around it too. There must have been people must have been, what is going on? She was
Mhm.
going this way and now she's going a completely different way. So, yeah, if you could speak about owning your spiritual gifts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to add to what you're saying about traveling. Like a lot of what I do, I also call timeline healing because we go to past lives. We travel in time as well as astrally. So to other places and spaces. And this is because we are multidimensional. So when we do the work in other dimensions, it affects this one. So I want to reiterate that because it's so important to do our multidimensional work, right? Not just the obvious thing that's happening in this life. There's other aspects that are affecting this life. And that also brings me to owning spiritual gifts because what was starting to happen to me, I couldn't deny it because I was awakening all the many dimensions of myself. And so the moment you have a memory, like I literally remembered being on another planet, remote viewing Earth, and being like, what are they doing? I can help them. Like, I'm going to go. And like, I made this choice to come and help humanity at this time, which was a powerful time to do that because there's so many opportunities for humanity, right? Like we could fall again as a civilization, or there's those of us who've come to help with the healing and awakening of humankind. And so all of us that have our gifts awakened or that we're here to use them and they're maybe not yet awakened, I feel like after a while, you can't lie to yourself because you start to get sick or your life starts to dismantle in some way. Like things just stop working, or you get fired from your job, or your relationship demises, or you literally start to get rashes on your face or your body. It's like these are all ways that when you deny the truth of what you know, the universe, life, everything starts to speak around you. And so a lot of people think, I feel like for me, what happened was I didn't really realize I was different until I was in med school. Like I knew I was different, but not to the point that I had these gifts. To me, I thought everyone had them. Like I knew I had them, but I thought everyone operated that way. So when I was in medical school and I was seeing patients and I was like, that shoulder pain is a relationship problem. Those pills or that surgery is not going to help. Then I started to question my reality and be like, I don't know if this is the right thing. And then when I would go to see how other people would live, so I started traveling in medical school for medical missions in like Honduras and Ecuador, and we would go to these remote villages. And I'm like, these people are happy. Why are we giving them like high blood pressure medication and they're not even able to get a refill? Like, this is a little crazy. It's almost felt like we were looking for things to give these people as if like these pills were the magic fix or something. And so what happens is we start to become disillusioned with our current reality. And the moment that happens, it's like you start to have conflict within yourself, which is a good thing. Like, for example, when I have people who come from very like religious or devout backgrounds, like church or whatever, and then they start worrying, like, are people going to call them a witch? Or is this like all the stuff that the church is like, you're going to go to hell if you do rituals or if you meditate or if you connect to divine energies? And so, what happens is part of the journey is about sovereignty, which means letting go of that programming, that judgment, what you believe your family wants from you. You really become free of everything that's not you. That's a big part of the spiritual awakening journey. And I call that sovereignty because it's so then you can truly lead yourself. Because when you are full of the noise of your family and society and the church and religion, you're making decisions from fear because you don't want to be excommunicated, you want to belong, you don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. So you conform. But after a while, it's almost like you can't anymore. And you can, I call it like sometimes people are in the woo closet, like, they're secretly doing their candles and their full moon stuff, but they don't want anyone to know about it. But what happens is when we fully claim it, our life starts to thrive in a whole new way. And I want you to know that it's not a process that you're going to do one time. you're going to have to keep doing it because as you evolve, there are parts of your life that will no longer be in alignment with where you're going and who you're here to be. So I've had so many dismantlings and so many lifetimes within this life where it's like I lived in a place, I thought that was it, and then I moved. And then I was in a relationship and then I had to leave it. And then I was living in community and it was like, nope, that's not your path anymore, not for right now anyway. And so it was like leaving that and then starting the next venture, or and even in terms of my gifts and how I work with people. It's like letting go of titles. Like I mentioned, at one point I was doing yoga instruction, then I was hosting more retreats, and then it was more meditation, and then it was more of the activation and healing work, etc. So, and then it's like now I'm stepping into where I'm being asked to write books. So it's like constantly we have to let go of what's no longer in alignment and keep stepping up and into the truth of who we are. So my invitation is the more courage and decisiveness and choice and action you move in the direction of who you know you truly are, even if you feel fear. It's not that you're not going to fear it. You're going to feel the fear, but you're going to do it anyway. You're going to see how your life is going to unfold with so much more ease and grace. And the people you love will come around. Because I remember a time where some people in my family said, what you're doing is weird. And even if you're successful, we're still going to think it's weird. But they celebrate me now. And they're happy that I'm living in Ibiza and doing what I love. So they will come around. Don't worry.
I love this. Yes, I love all of this and claiming your spiritual gifts and the claiming is powerful because it's like you have to continue to make a commitment to yourself. Like you're recommitting every time. And I love to do like little commitment rituals or little commitment ceremonies with myself where I just say, how can I keep coming back to this? You know, I might be on all kinds of different paths or pulled in all kinds of different ways. Like I told you, my children or my husband, or my job or whatever it might be. But if I can continue to come back and recommit to myself and my spiritual journey, because ultimately it's you and your universe and your sense of source, and that's all you have. It's interesting because, and we'll probably like wrap up here in a minute, but I have a calendar that has different spiritual quotes on it every day. And today's quote for August 1st says, "To feel renewed, take a spiritual holiday, not away from life, but inside yourself, away from the obvious." So
Absolutely.
so perfect for everything that we've just been talking about today. I would love if you could share how people can get in touch with you if they want to go deeper on their multi-dimensional journey with you.
Absolutely. Or even come have a personal retreat in Ibiza.
I mean, you've sold
Yes.
me already. I want to come and do I want to come and do some work with you anyway. I feel like we've got some definitely soul
Yeah.
sisterhood going on here. So
Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. So I'm most active on Instagram at Dr. Nikki Starr, DrNikkistarr, two R's, two K's, two I's. My website is drnikkistarr.com. I also have a podcast, The Dr. Nikki Starr Show, which different seasons have different topics. So right now we're in the season of Divine Union when this is airing and that path to greater love. And yeah, I host retreats in Ibiza. I also do online work. I do one-to-one. I do group mentorship. I do group programs. So depending on the season, the time, you can just connect with me, ask me. I also have codes and courses that are evergreen with light language and all kinds of beautiful activations. So there's so many ways. And so I'm so grateful to have connected with all of you, with you, Suki, as well. Thank you for holding the space for us today.
yes, this is beautiful. I love the light language stuff too. I do the same thing. At first I thought, man, people must think I'm really crazy now. But but that was the stuff where I started to really get like, deeper. And I love that you started with yoga as well as one of the journeys because I feel that if you can connect to your body and your breath and through the body get through into the mind and from the mind go into the astral and the subtle realms like this is it's so easy to be in your density, right? In just be in that two-dimensional in the body. But once you realize that you are so multidimensional, this is why I love this whole conversation today. It's a powerful step. So I really appreciate you for being here. This has been beautiful. Blessings to you. I can feel a little bird came and sat behind you while you were talking just now. It was so perfect. But what I would love to do as well is just invite everyone, if you're listening to this, go and follow Dr. Nikki Starr. If you feel, inspired, I'd also invite you to remember that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And go and have that human experience. Go and travel. Go and live your life. Go and enjoy or visit some of these sacred places and temples and bless the land because the world has been really dark lately. There's been a lot of terrible things going on, and we need to keep giving love to each other. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for
anchoring the light.
listening. Yes, blessings to
Thank
you.
you.
And until next time, we will talk later.